my god, I've been calling it the Revive sunscreen through this whole review. What the heck? Hey, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all about gentle skincare, sometimes self-care, and today we're talking brand new Beauty of Joseon sunscreens. Beauty of Joseon has just come out with their new Sun Aqua-Fresh Rice Plus B5 sunscreen, and I'm here to give you all my thoughts about this sunscreen, from the ingredients to the texture to the performance. I have some thoughts. It's always exciting when Beauty of Joseon releases a new product, but I am also going to be comparing and contrasting this sunscreen to the ever popular Leavv Sun Rice Plus Probiotics. You know this one's super duper popular, and these two look very, very similar. So I'm going to be breaking down all of the details of this new sunscreen and giving you a little mini this or that between the original Beauty of Joseon sunscreen and this new Sun Aqua-Fresh. If you are so ready to dive into the review, give it a big thumbs up and let's get started. So the new Beauty of Joseon Sun Aqua-Fresh sunscreen really does feel like it is the answer to some of the pitfalls of the popular Revive sunscreen. Now, you know, with this sunscreen, I did do a review of it when it was released all the way back in 2021. Seems like a super long time ago, doesn't it? But you recall in that review, I did talk about how moisturizing this sunscreen is. It's very creamy. It definitely does feel very nourishing and replenishing for dry skin. It does have quite a dewy finish to it that I personally really do enjoy. But in that review, I did mention that this can be quite emollient. It may feel heavy for certain skin types. I also mentioned in that review that this particular product does use a chemical filter called Tinosorb M. Now, Tinosorb M actually can create a little bit of, it's not even quite a true white cast. It's almost more of like a purpley or blue tone ashy cast to the skin, especially on deeper skin tones. We start to really pick up that purpley blue ashy cast to the skin. And as this sunscreen has gotten popular since 2021, right, since it was released, you know, time and time again, the reviews do state that this is a moisturizing sunscreen. It's medium weight. It could feel heavy for some folks. It could feel greasy for some folks. If you have a deeper skin tone, just know you're going to get a little bit of that ashy purple blue kind of look to your skin. It's not perfect. It's not for everybody, right? And what sunscreen is. But even in the marketing of this brand new sunscreen, Beauty of Joseon is saying like, hey, if you like our original sunscreen, but it felt a little too heavy, it felt too rich, if you were noticing that kind of purple blue cast, we have a sunscreen for you. We have made it. So they do claim that this is fast absorbing, quick drying, very weightless on the skin. It is not going to have a white cast. It's not going to cast blue or purple onto deeper skin tones. And they do claim that this is very lightweight. So let's dive into the details of this new sunscreen. So this is an SPF 50 plus PA++ sunscreen, and they are achieving that using 5 different chemical filters. This is a fully chemical sunscreen. Now the testing, because you know with Korean sunscreens, there's going to be extensive testing to make sure that this is offering you the SPF that is labeled. The testing has revealed that the SPF is coming out to about 57.9, and the PA of this sunscreen is coming out to about 19.3. Like many Korean sunscreens, this sunscreen is not rated for water resistance, so this is not going to be your choice for beach days, but it's perfect for casual everyday sun exposure. Now they are using, as I mentioned, 5 different chemical filters to create the protection here, and you will notice that there is a little bit of a difference here between the filters that are being used for the Sun Aqua versus the Revive sunscreen, and you can see that no Tinosorb M is being used here, and that was really the culprit in the original sunscreen that was causing that white cast. So they've addressed that by changing up the filters here. Now I do want to point out that this sunscreen is using an ingredient called silica. This is an important ingredient to know about when it comes to sunscreen formulation, because this ingredient actually can help with creating a little bit more of a matte sunscreen. It actually helps to control and absorb excessive oil on the skin, and it can help to contribute, as I said, to more of a matte finish with sunscreens or cream type products. And then just like a quick interesting note, I wanted to point out that this sunscreen actually does not contain niacinamide. This is very Aqua-Fresh. It is a gel cream texture, but it's actually a lot looser than a lot of the K-Beauty gel cream sunscreens out there. It spreads really beautifully beautifully because it's not a stiff and heavy kind of sunscreen. Spreads beautifully, and it really absorbs and dries on the skin very fast, which is surprising for a sunscreen that does not contain any drying forms of alcohol. The dry time on this is very good because it's not heavy with emolliency. It actually does feel watery. It does feel refreshing. It actually has a little bit of a cooling effect on the skin too, which felt really good because, testing this in August, it was like quite hot, right? And so I definitely don't want to wear a heavy, very moisturizing sunscreen. And this had the perfect texture for hot and humid weather. Quickly absorbed, refreshing, watery on the skin, and not heavy. It is incredibly lightweight, incredibly breathable. It is totally the type of sunscreen that, just like weight-wise and how it feels on your skin, you will forget that you're wearing this because it is just so comfortable. This has a semi-matte finish to it. It is very what I call skin neutral. It is not adding any additional shine to my skin, and it's not really taking anything away or mattifying my skin, right? It itself is quite neutral on the skin. So I personally choose to do a fairly dewy skincare routine before I apply this onto my skin. So in my clips, you're going to see that my skin definitely still has some shine on that. But I want to let you know that this sunscreen is not adding the shine to my skin. The shine was already there. But as you see, when I put this onto my hand with no other skincare or just like a minimal lotion, this is not creating a shine. It's not bouncing any light. There's not a wet look to this at all. It is very, like I said, skin neutral, very semi-matte, which I think is really great. It reapplies very easily. I did not experience any pilling with this, putting on, a second layer of this sunscreen on in the middle of the day, and it worked very well underneath makeup. I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the review. I really didn't detect a white cast with this sunscreen. As I mentioned earlier, when I reviewed the original Leavv sunscreen a couple of years ago, I did faintly detect that hint of a white cast. So I did pick up on it a little bit, especially as I was layering and kind of reapplying this sunscreen. But I would definitely look, if you do have a deeper skin tone, I would look for other reviews from creators with deeper skin tones who are more blessed with melanin, because I can only pick up so much with my skin tone, right? So I didn't really detect any with the new Aqua-Fresh sunscreen, but just to reiterate, I was able to pick up on it a little bit with the Leavv sunscreen. So let me tell you about my experience using the Aqua-Fresh sunscreen and how it performed for me. Now I have to say the brand did send this to me as soon as this was released. So I just want to let you know that this is not a sponsored review, and I'm actually under no obligation. Just because they sent it to me, there's no strings attached here. I don't owe them any content or anything like that. I got it and I was like surprised because I didn't know it was in the box, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, they have a new sunscreen. How cool. And I remember I put it on the back of my hand right away because I was like, they're talking a lot about texture, and I'm like, I definitely want to see how this feels. And I remember I did it and I was like, wow, this feels so fresh. It feels so lightweight. It feels, it definitely is. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely like matte, right? I was like, this feels great. I was like, I love this. I remember thinking in my head, I was like, I love this. And I was like, Kelly, hold on. Calm down. You need to get this onto your face a couple of times before you start saying you love something, right? Like you're being a little much, like you're a little too excited. I was like, okay. So then I started looking into the ingredients and stuff too, because I was curious, what had changed here. And then I noticed the silica and I was like, silica. Now I remember, silica is an ingredient that is used in sunscreens to kind of take down some of the shine, right? It's oil controlling. It can, create a mattifying effect on the skin, right? And I think it's fantastic. I have used it in sunscreens with good success. I've used it in sunscreens with bad success. Let me tell you, I do have combination skin. It can get quite oily in the T-zone, and I can get extremely dry in my U-zone. My combination skin can get quite imbalanced, right? And then on top of all of that, I can suffer with dehydration too. So even though I do produce oil on my skin, I usually do not find success with products that control the oil, that are mattifying, right? Because when I take the oil away from my skin, it really ramps up the dehydration in my skin. And that's just that's a Kelly problem, right? That's just my personal skin chemistry, the things that are going on with my skin type and skin concerns, and the personal balance that works and feels comfortable for me. Yeah, I was excited at first, and then I was a little apprehensive, like, is this not going to work out for me? So I did put it on my face like the next day because, like I said, I was very excited about this. And I was like legit anxious and scared the whole day that it was going to dehydrate my skin. I was like putting it on like this, right? And then the whole day I was like just thinking about my skin. I was like, is it dehydrated now? Is it dehydrated now? Is it dehydrated? Does it look red? Is it inflamed? Does it feel tight now? And the answer to every question was no. Second day testing it. Now the anxiety about the dehydration, because if it was going to happen, it probably was going to happen on that first day. And I was like, okay, I feel a little bit more relaxed. Put this on in peace. And maybe I can actually enjoy this. And I was like, I love the texture. You know, that's what really struck me from the first try through every time I try it, I'm just like, I love the texture. You know, it really does feel a little different than a lot of K-beauty sunscreens. A lot of K-beauty sunscreens do have this gel cream texture, right? But they usually still feel a little wet. They still feel a little slow to dry and absorb on the skin, or they'll be very shiny. So they might feel nice and refreshing, but they don't necessarily have the best performance texture-wise. But this felt really nice and refreshing and light and hydrating. But it felt like it was drying. It felt like it was settling. It felt like it was on my skin, but it also felt breathable and weightless at the same time. So I was just really liking that. Not only was I not feeling dehydrated, I actually just wasn't feeling like the sunscreen like weighing down on my skin at all either. It is so incredibly lightweight, which I love so much. And I started to realize as I was, testing this even further, it has a matte finish, right? But it's not mattifying. It is not controlling my oil. And in fact, I noticed that my skin was just as shiny at the end of the day as it usually is. But this sunscreen did not add or contribute to my shine. It didn't add or contribute to my oiliness. And in fact, my skin felt very neutral at the top. Some sunscreens, like you can like wipe your finger across your face and it's like you feel like you get a layer of sunscreen right off on your skin because it's just so emollient and so rich at the top. And it's not really like drying down. It's not really absorbing. This feels dry to the touch. It feels really, really nice, but it's not taking away from your oil. So if you're hoping that it's going to control your oil, it probably won't, honestly. But if you're looking for something that doesn't contribute to your oiliness or your shininess, this is a good one. Like I said, it's very skin respective, very neutral. The day came where I needed to do a full face of makeup and I was like, hey, this is going to be a great test for this sunscreen, right? And so I was really shocked. I really put it to the test because I didn't wear a makeup primer because I had this sneaking suspicion that it was going to work pretty well because, like I was saying, it's kind of dry at the top. It's almost a little grippy. And that is definitely a key for a good sunscreen under makeup because your makeup's going to lay on top of that and kind of cling to that a lot better. It's not going to shift around or get patchy on you. I didn't use my makeup primer. I just used this and then I put my foundation and concealer on top of that. And I was really impressed with how this worked. Because like I said, I'm a firm believer in makeup primer. And I noticed that my makeup was not shifting, especially in my oily areas. Yeah, it's definitely look around the nose area. Maybe a little bit, but quite honestly, I did an additional application where I put just this on one side of my face and then the Leavv, the original sunscreen, the more moisturizing one, on the other side, and then did the full face of makeup to see, how this really performed, to really confirm that this was an amazing makeup primer sunscreen. And on the Leavv side, I noticed a little caking, which I would not have tuned into necessarily if I was just doing a full face of this, because I do feel like this works nice under makeup. This works amazing under makeup, right? In comparison, I'm like trying to find a negative thing to say. And truly the only thing was I was thinking maybe this would have been better suited in a pump type of sunscreen package because it is just this squeeze tube. And because it is a much thinner type of of sunscreen, you can sometimes squeeze out a little bit more. If you're doing like your 3-finger method, it can get a little runny really fast. You just have to kind of get that pressure and control just right on the tube. I think it will make getting the last drop squeezed out of your sunscreen a lot easier. But like I said, the only thing I was thinking was maybe a pump would make this a little bit less messy, because I was definitely squirting out a little bit too much more than I wanted at certain times, just because it is so runny and so Aqua-Fresh.
Leavv, the original sunscreen, Leavv sunscreen, Leavv sunscreen, Leavv.
Oh my god, I've been calling it the Revive sunscreen through this whole review. What the heck? So let's quickly recap the differences between the Leavv sunscreen and the Aqua-Fresh sunscreen. And I just realized that I've been saying Revive sunscreen through this whole entire video. And you're probably like already like, Kelly, that's not what it's called, in the comments. I know. I'm just getting it mixed up with the Revive ginseng line, which I also like from Beauty of Joseon. And I'm trying to make sure that you know which sunscreen I'm talking about when, because they look so similar. They sound very similar. So I apologize if I've created any confusion so far. But let me correct myself here. Leavv sunscreen, the original Beauty of Joseon sunscreen. This is using 4 chemical filters. And as I've mentioned, they do use Tinosorb M, as we've identified is the culprit for that blue, purple, ashy cast that you can get on deeper skin tones. So with the new Aqua-Fresh sunscreen, they're using 5 different chemical filters that do not include that culprit Tinosorb M. Now the Leavv sunscreen, I said it right, the Leavv sunscreen does contain some niacinamide in the formula. The Aqua-Fresh does not. The Leavv sunscreen has more of a cream lotion-like texture that's a lot more moisturizing, more emollient, kind of medium weight on the skin, and can have a dewy finish on the skin. The Aqua-Fresh has a much more looser gel cream texture to it. It is much more lightweight, quicker absorbed, not as moisturizing and emollient, and it does have a semi-matte finish. Both sunscreens work well underneath makeup, in my personal opinion, but if you are looking for a sunscreen that can double as your primer, I would look no further than the Aqua-Fresh. This definitely outperformed the Leavv sunscreen in the makeup test. Both are good options, but Aqua-Fresh is better. And you may be wondering, which one do I like better, or maybe which one is best for your skin type and your situation? Quite honestly, I have to say, I still really like the Leavv sunscreen. As I've mentioned on my channel quite a bit, I will often gravitate towards this in the colder months, in the winter months, when my skin needs every ounce of moisture it can get, right? And this feels amazing on my skin, but I often put it away for the warmer months because it's a little heavy in that situation. I think that's just where Aqua-Fresh comes in, and then you just start cycling through these sunscreens, right? A hotter climate, oilier skin type, you need a lighter sunscreen. This is where it's at. I can see myself using this a lot in the hot days. And even though it's September, I have to say the hot days are still here for a while, right? And this feels really great when it's humid, when it's warm, and when you just need something really breathable and lightweight. It feels great. If you're looking for something that's going to nourish dry skin, maybe be a little bit more protective in a colder climate, then the Leavv sunscreen would be a great choice for you. And of course, the other differences that we've talked about as well is going to help you make the choice between the two. Like I said, I could not find many negatives, maybe the packaging, and I always think it's a negative if a sunscreen doesn't have a water resistant rating on it, right? So I'm going to rate this, because of those two things, I'm going to rate this a 9.5 out of 10. It's a really stinking good sunscreen. So I hope you enjoyed that deep dive into the new Beauty of Joseon sunscreen and that little bit of a this or that we had. And I hope you're laughing just as much as I am over my Revive Leavv tongue twister. It's almost as bad as when I have to juggle Innisfree and Isntree in the same video. It's almost as hard. Almost. So I hope you enjoyed, and if it was helpful, please remember to hit subscribe before you go. Come join our community, especially if you love K-beauty and you love deep diving product reviews. That's what my channel is all about. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you're never out of the loop. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I am curious to know if you're going to try this new sunscreen. Let me know in the comments below. I love you so much. I really do hope that you are healthy, happy, and safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.